Hello, we're here. This is Howard Cooper with the Beat Anxiety Live. And we're at the holiday season. It's Christmas time or whatever it is that you celebrate at this time of year. And welcome, because I'm really looking forward because today, whilst often it's just little old me sharing some anxiety beating tips and psychological hacks for improving your life, I thought I didn't want to be alone during this season. I thought I would bring someone else to join me, and she's absolutely fantastic. I did refer to her, and I can see her in the corner of my eye here on my screen. I'm going to bring her on in a moment. I did refer to her in an email earlier as a closet Christmas elf. I don't know whether that was a good thing or a bad thing, but I would like to introduce the one, the only Dipti Tait. Woohoo! Welcome. How are you, Dipti?
Well, technically, I'm kind of like your elf because you clearly are
Santa.
Father Christmas.
I'm gonna lose the hat. I'm gonna lose the
Oh
hat.
no, I love the hat. You need to keep the hat on, doesn't he? Everybody, keep the hat on.
But by the way, in there you will see a comment box underneath in the usual fashion. So please do let us know if you can see and hear us. Drop us a hi. Drop us a hello. And if you've got any anxiety-beating questions or things that over this Christmas season you're beginning to get a bit stressed, worried, or anxious about, let us know, because we will be taking some questions a little bit later. Dipti, some people may not know of you. And I would like, actually, some people may not know of me either. So I'll tell you about my background shortly as well, as a quick reminder. But Dipti, you go first. Tell us about yourself. What do you do? How do you get started? And what can we hope to kind of hear from you over the course of...
like Blind Date. Do you remember Blind Date? Who are you? Where do you come from?
Well, at the end, we can do a Here's Graham with a quick reminder.
Yeah. Oh, look, there's Toby. He says hello. So I don't need to tell Toby who I am because Toby is my boyfriend. But for those of you who are not my boyfriend, I am Dipti Tait. I'm a solution-focused hypnotherapist, and I'm an author of 2 books about grief. That's me. In a nutshell.
That was a very small nutshell. She talked about hiding her what's the word? Hiding
life
her...
under a bushel.
Thank you. That's the phrase. Yeah. Dipti has been working as a hypnotherapist for a long while. She's a fantastic human being. It's hard to feel down when Dipti's around. And she's worked with all sorts of people. You may have seen her, by the way, on morning TV. More often than I've had hot dinners. But mind you, I haven't had many hot dinners, so you know. So you work with anxiety as well, and you've helped people with all sorts of issues, haven't you?
Yes, I've been a hypnotherapist for just over 10 years now, and yeah, the anxiety issue is a big one, isn't it? And
right.
Yes,
well,
all the time.
For those of you who, just a quick nutshell reminder, I'm an ex-anxiety sufferer. So 15 years old, diagnosed with a severe panic attack and anxiety disorder. Was sent to all the traditional therapies. Nothing really helped me. And it was hypnotherapy and NLP that I discovered after this long journey of week in, week out therapy that seemed to create some sort of positive change, at which point I became very passionate that people shouldn't be suffering when there are really cool techniques out there that can help. So I'm now 2 decades into helping people, specializing mainly with anxiety. And that's what brings me to this. But I thought I would give everyone a little bit of a heads up as to what's in store. I like the kind of the morning TV vibe for these. Why not? So coming up, what have we got? We're going to be doing some anxiety myths exposed. In other words, I think there are certain ideas around treating anxiety that, quite frankly, people bandy around as just assuming it's true. But the reality of it is, I think we can bust them, and some of them are not that helpful. It says Howard gets angry, but I've invited Dipti to get angry with me. We're going to pick something that we're going to get on our soapbox about in terms of mental health around Christmas time and say why it irritates us. Then we'll deal with some of your anxiety-beating questions. We'll share some practical tools, some techniques of the week, and we'll finish off. Dipti said she's going to do it with me. With a nice, gentle, hypnotic, meditative process to send you off into this holiday season feeling fantastic. And that's what we have coming up.
Nice.
Thanks.
Is there a weather report next?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Would you like me to do the weather?
No. What's the weather? Have you got any plans over the holidays? What are you doing?
Well, I'm going to Toby's sisters. We're going to Toby's sisters for Christmas, which will be lovely. And then for New Year, Toby and I are going to Bournemouth. We're going to the beach.
Very nice.
Yes, because it will be lovely and tropical down in Bournemouth.
I've never been to the beach when it's been snowing. I've never seen snow on a beach. I don't even know what it looks like.
We have this theory that it doesn't snow on a beach.
Really?
Well, I thought it didn't snow on a beach. And I Googled snow on beach. And there are pictures of snow on beaches. But I think it's rare.
Right. That's great. Toby says that's amazing and exciting.
I don't think he means the snow on the beach. I think he means
just getting away. Having a break.
Christmas vibe, yeah.
Right. That's very good. Very good. Well, I think we should dive in because I like to keep these going. And the first thing that we said we would do was let's talk about some anxiety-beating myths or exposing those myths. So let's toss up. Who wants to go first? Dipti, thank you for volunteering.
Okay, I volunteered.
Go for it. What's an anxiety-beating myth?
Okay, so most people, in fact, everybody, thinks that anxiety is a problem. Yeah?
And how is that a myth?
It's not a problem. It never is a problem. It never has been a problem. And it never will be a problem. Anxiety is not a problem. It's a solution. And let me explain, because some people will be scratching their heads and going, what? Anxiety is a problem. We need to get rid of it. We need to avoid it. We need to move away from it as fast as possible. But it's not a problem. It's a solution. It's something that's in your system to get your attention to take some action. Anxiety is there for a reason. It's there to help you see something or notice something or pay attention to something. It's your body and mind's way of going, hello, you need to do something here, or you need to not do something here. But if we constantly think of it as a problem and we try to avoid it or ignore it or run away from it, then we don't ever hear the message that anxiety brings.
Right. You see, I know at the beginning when we talked about this just before, and I said, what are you going to share for your anxiety-beating myth? I then said, well, would you mind if I kind of disagreed or I was a bit controversial? And I was already, based on what you'd said at the beginning, when you said, it's not the problem, it's the solution, to kind of go, no, I think you're wrong. But now I've heard what you've said, I think I kind of agree with you, but I think about it in a slightly different way. But I think we're actually pointing at the same thing, which is people often go, anxiety keeps me safe. It's like what they do is they kind of look at it and they go, am I in danger? And if they feel anxiety, they think anxiety is the answer. Yes, I'm in danger. But I think of it as anxiety isn't the answer. Anxiety is the question. Anxiety is the little, and you did this, and I just thought, oh shit, I do agree with her, right? It was the little tap going, ding, 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 ding. Is there a threat? Because sometimes we just have anxiety and it's going, is there something we need to pay attention to? It doesn't mean it's necessarily a threat, but it's a useful thing to go, oh, this is a useful feeling to go, is there anything I need to pay attention to? So I think it's that little ding, 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 ding. So yeah, I can't, how could I be mean to you? I just agree.
Well, I have this theory that here's our head. Imagine
I agree with you so far. Right. Yeah.
This is the house. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And outside here of the head is the porch. In the porch sits the anxiety security guard. And the anxiety security guard's job is to look out for danger and threat, like you just said. That's its job. That's what it's meant to do. Now, when it sees or senses any threat or danger, its job is to get up and knock on the door of the house. And the person who lives in the house, say that's me, is supposed to open the door and say to the anxiety security guard, hi, how can I help you? And the anxiety security guard then says, oh, well, there's a burglar down the street. You might want to check your doors and windows. And then I say, oh, thank you very much. And I shut the door. And then off I go upstairs and downstairs and make sure I've got all my doors and windows secured. The end. Anxiety security guard goes back to where he or she sits. But this is what generally happens. Anxiety security guard notices threat, knocks on the door. You're in bed and you're really cozy. And you're like, I can't be bothered to open the door, so I'm not going to. So he or she knocks louder. And then you're like, oh, no, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go. They break the door down. Now they're coming into the house and they're like, ooh, it's cozy in here. Really nice. I don't want to sit in the porch. Then they come to find you and you're in bed all comfy and warm. And then the anxiety security guard gets into bed with you and it's like, I'm not moving.
Right.
That's me. And now you can't sleep. And now you've got panic disorders. Now you've got overwhelm happening out of every department.
Right.
And that's my theory.
I like that, but I think it's really helpful for people to start thinking of it as the little ding, 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 ding. The porch, the security guard, does he have an important message for you? So cool. My anxiety beating myth that I wanted to share was actually inspired by Santa. I think he's fundamentally wrong about something. And this is quite a claim, isn't it? Santa's got it wrong. He has this list that basically goes, you're naughty or you're nice. Well, I don't think that's very helpful. I don't think people are just naughty or just nice. It's too binary. It's too black and white. And what that inspired me to start thinking about was, I think people often have a tendency to identify themselves as just one thing often. So you get anxiety sufferers and they go, I am anxious. I'm just an anxious person. It's who I am. But I think there are much more shades of grey. Like you could find someone who's confident. And if you say to someone who identifies as a confident person, have you ever felt anxious? They'll almost always go, well, yeah, from time to time. So confident people can feel anxious too. Like, well, which are they? Are they confident? Are they anxious? Or are they both? And we're like a multitude of all of these things. Like happy people can feel sad too. Extroverts can also desire quiet time. Introverts can want human connection and to be sociable. Anxious people can also feel confident at times. Depressed people can laugh. But I think the point is that unlike Santa, I don't think it's useful to label yourself as either one thing or t'other. God, my northern roots are coming out, aren't they? Or t'other. It's not binary. So this is simply an invitation at this moment to consider, how do you think about yourself, and perhaps could we be more nuanced in how we think about ourselves, rather than labeling ourselves as just one thing. Maybe there's a whole variety of things. We're never just one thing. So I don't know what you make of that, Dipti.
I love that, because at the end of the day, if we stick a label on ourselves, it's almost like we've identified with that thing, whatever that thing is. And therefore, if we identify with that, we then act like that and behave like that and become that.
Right.
So it's the same principle, isn't it?
Well,
Although there is one label I think is useful.
Oh, God, go on.
I didn't tell you I was going to say this, but I'm hoping you agree.
Go on.
So the label that I think is useful is the grief label.
Oh, really? Tell me, How come?
Because a lot of the time people don't know they're grieving, because grief isn't a thing. It's not like you can't really describe grief, because it's a multitude of emotions. So because it is a multitude of emotions, anxiety, depression, loneliness, guilt, I don't know, whatever else you feel, sadness, all of those things all kind of messed up together in one big blob, you then kind of can't identify it so easily, because it is so immersed in so many things. So if you can label grief as grief, then it takes away all of that. What is wrong with me? Why am I feeling like this?
Right. So where do you stand on things like the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Illness, wanting to kind of almost categorize grief as a mental illness?
Yeah, it's not a mental illness. It's just an emotional disturbance. It's not an illness, because you can't prescribe anything to get rid of grief.
Right.
You can't, can you? I mean, okay, they might prescribe antidepressants, but that's getting rid of the depression part of grief. But antidepressants might not help with feelings of guilt or loneliness or...
Yeah.
So it's not an illness. It's
well,
a process.
I don't want to jump into a rant too soon, because we're not even at the Howard rant bit.
No.
I mean, could you imagine if I got angry before I was allowed to? Goodness me, that'd be awful. But I think there is an over-medicalized nature of within psychotherapy and mental health, where people are labeling normal experiences that we all have to go through, grief being one of them, and labeling them as problematic or you've got a disorder. No, you're allowed to feel shit, and you're allowed to feel guilt and grief and sad and miserable in certain contexts. Like, these are normal experiences, and I think we should be normalizing things rather than living in this world of toxic positivity.
Yeah.
I can't remember whether I've ever shared this with you, but there's this age-old phrase, isn't there? When life gives you lemons, make lemonade.
Yes.
And I know people who go, well, I don't just make lemonade, I make super sparkly glittery lemonade with a cherry on the top. But I think of it like this. When life gives you lemons, what if it's okay for it to taste a bit sour?
Yes.
But just keep in mind, the flavour's not going to last forever.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And lemons have a purpose.
Right.
I mean, how else would you drink a gin and tonic?
Exactly. The point is, we don't have to sit there going, it's lovely and sweet. Like, it's ridiculous,
Exactly.
But I didn't want to say, but I don't want to rant too soon. But, oh God, should we rant?
I think you go first.
I'm going to go first. I am going to go first, because I have to keep this. I did a quick demo of this to Dipti earlier to say what I was going to rant about, and it got very naughty very quickly in terms of me effing and blinding, and I'm going to try and keep it a bit cleaner. Try. Okay.
If you put your Santa hat on, you can maybe rant with that.
Do you think that would soften the blow?
Yeah. Then you probably won't swear.
I don't know.
Santa doesn't swear.
Santa, well, I saw this film the other day. Me and my wife went to see a film called Violent Night, and Santa swore.
Oh.
Yeah. I quite liked it. My wife hated it. It was a gore fest. It was just, it's quite funny. Santa comes down the chimney to deliver presents to a wealthy house who are being held up by terrorists.
Oh,
and he wants to rescue them, so he militaries up and goes and gives them, quote, a season's beatings.
Okay. It doesn't sound like a film that I want to watch.
Well, I can understand that. But let me get on my high horse.
Yes, go on.
Right. This is my rant today. I'm going to get on my high horse about people who mandate to others how Christmas or holiday seasons have to be spent. In other words, what they have is they have these standards in their head of like, oh, people mustn't be alone during this period. Well, maybe the person wants to be alone. Like, so why do we have to put pressure on other people to experience and celebrate the way they think we should? You know, or you've got people who are like sticking to diets, or they're trying to be healthy and lose weight, and they go over to their family's house and they say, oh, it's Christmas. You have to have seconds for dessert. And they feel this like internal pressure that because the other person's expectations are that they have to have dessert, they now have to do it. No, you don't have to live the way other people think that you should. And other people don't have a right to mandate how you need to experience Christmas or life or grief. Because that used to piss me off when, you experience grief and people say, what you need to do is... It's like, sorry. No, I was going to swear then. No, you don't. Right? I get to choose how I experience this. So, by the way, if you're listening closely, I do realise there is an innate irony here of me getting irritated because the people who mandate how other people live aren't living the way I think they should. Like, you shouldn't be telling other people. So that's my mandating. But I think there is this gentle kind of, or not so gentle moment of me going, you know what, stay in your lane. These are my values, not yours. And you don't have to mandate how other people live. So if you're feeling anxious, by the way, because other people are putting pressure on you to experience the holiday season in the way that they think you should, just realise you do not have to, and they have no right to mandate your own choices.
Hear, hear.
Hear, hear. Yes. Go on, Dipti. I'm ready.
I stand with that rant. I really do. And my rant actually follows on, I think, from your rant. It has the same kind of vibes of stay in your own lane, because I really like that. So my rant is about fake families. So if you think about Christmas, right, we've got advertising, we've got jingle bells, we've got happy vibes going on, and everyone's supposed to be jolly, and everyone's supposed to be festive and frivolous, and actually there is no place for grief at Christmas. Grief doesn't even get a look in. So this sort of, it's almost like, well, so for example, in my life, I don't have parents because they both died. And so I do have a family, obviously, but I don't really have a direct family that I can call my nuclear family. So I kind of have to borrow Toby's family, for example, as my family. But it's okay for me to be not okay with that sometimes. It's okay for me to be angry that I don't have my own family, and that's okay. So what my rant is about knowing that we can get triggered. Christmas is a huge trigger time, especially for loss of loved ones and the whole culture of Christmas, the whole culture of you've got to be happy, and you've got to be grateful that you've got your time off from work, and you've got to be kind of festive and frivolous. Well, what if you don't feel like it? So again, it ties back to your mandate. You don't feel like it, stay in bed in your pajamas, it's fine.
Right. And why do you have to eat turkey? What if you don't like turkey? No, but it's the done thing, isn't it? Do you know what I hear? I hear that the issue that we both seem to have here, and I have to be very careful when I say this. I have to check I've got my teeth in, because if I mispronounce this, it could go terribly wrong. But I think the big problem that we're pointing at is one of masturbation. I need to be careful. Masturbation. The musts and the shoulds and the have tos that people tend to have. Turkey must be eaten on Christmas. 'Tis the season, you must be jolly. You must have seconds. So I think we're kind of really both kind of anti-masturbation.
We're definitely both anti-masturbation, and we're probably anti-traditional as well. And it's the traditional, isn't it? It's traditional, so it's the same thing about, well, it's Christmas. What's traditional? What does that even mean?
Right. It just means someone's done it for a long time.
But yes, we both know habit.
If you've done anxiety for a long time, it doesn't mean you have to carry on for the rest of your life.
Exactly. You can change a habit and you can change a tradition, and that's okay.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. Perfect. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Well, by the way, Linda says, hi, Howard, love to see you. I love listening to your programs. Merry Christmas to you both.
Merry Christmas, Linda.
Merry Christmas, Linda. Thank you so much. Toby says, Dipti is a superstar. I mean, not biased at all. But thank you for your contributions. By the way, the amazing and exciting was in reference to the show. The show is amazing and exciting. So that's really nice. That's really good. Thank you. Right. I would like to dive into some question and answers. So this is where it becomes a bit more interactive. If you're watching and you have questions, please do type them in. If you've got any questions relating to anxiety around this holiday season, or even just anxiety in general, I ain't fussy, right? We're here to help. In the meantime, while you're busy writing that stuff, I wanted to share, I did put on some anxiety-based forums on Facebook. The question, what stresses you out, or do you get anxious around during Christmas time? And I thought, it's kind of interesting. Because, again, there's this idea, isn't there, that we should all feel wonderful during Christmas. But actually, when you start prodding a little bit, it does bring out some interesting themes. So let me have a look here. Someone said, what do you think of this one? The commercialism of it. It's the endless guilt that it tries to make you feel if you don't do this or buy that. Whatever you decide to do or not do, spend or not spend, is okay and should be okay. I keep telling myself that because this year we didn't do as much Christmas stuff, though, I feel guilty. So what do you think about that? How would we approach helping someone who feels guilty because perhaps they're not able to, cost of living going up and so on, meet the commercially put in our heads expectations of what's expected?
Well, with any guilty thought, it's about really cross-examining it. So imagine that guilt is there in the witness stand, and the guilty thought will just come up with whatever the thought says it wants to come up with. And if you are the kind of cross-examiner, you have to sort of ask the guilt for evidence, come up with some truth about this thought. Is this really true? Usually, the guilty thought will not be based in any kind of truth or any kind of logic. It's all very wrapped up in tradition or belief or expectation. So that's a really good way of dealing with guilt, is like, putting the spotlight onto it and saying, give me evidence. Come on. do some more, you know? And then usually guilt just shrinks back to where it came from.
I like that. See, the way I look at it is guilt can only come about if you are under the illusion that you could have done something different. But like, if really you can't do any more than you can do, because in the moment you're doing the best you can with all the resources you have, you can't do any more. Then guilt is really all the post hoc rationalization. So I sometimes say to people, you know, if you're in a pizza restaurant, why didn't you order sushi?
Yeah.
It's like, wasn't on the menu. Like, so do you feel guilty about the fact? No, it wasn't on the menu. I couldn't have chosen that. But again, when people look at the bank account and they only have so much, or they don't have so much time, or they don't even have the thought, like, I could do this. It's not on the menu. You can't do any more than appears on the menu.
Yeah.
And I think when you begin to see that, it's like, again, guilt shrivels up.
Yeah.
Kind of dissipates.
It's not on the menu.
No. I thought this was really interesting. Someone wrote, I dread when Christmas actually ends. I feel like it's a good distraction, but afterwards reality hits and I have nowhere to hide. What do you make of that one?
Well, Christmas is over-consuming, isn't it? It consumes your mind, your time, your energy, your bank balance, your space. It's so over-consuming, and we are over-consumers. I was going to say the supermarket I was in, but it probably doesn't matter. But anyway, I was in a supermarket yesterday, and I stood there after about 40 minutes because it was packed. And I stood there and I thought, we are all insane. We are literally all insane. Every single one of us is insane. And I was thinking, I could stand here and have a panic attack right now because I'm quite like, I lost for words. Why are we doing this? And then it kind of went away again, and I just kind of carried on and was like, I really just need to get everything on my list into the shopping trolley and get out of here. But the point is that why did I have all of that on my list, in the first place? Because I was doing exactly what they were doing and they were doing and they were doing. And it's because we have been conditioned to do it. And if we know that and we're fine with that, great, crack on, be happy. But if we get upset about it, like I nearly did yesterday, or we get challenged by it somehow and overwhelmed, and if that becomes a problem, we've got to then ask ourselves, what boundaries can we put up? What can we say no to next year? How can we learn from this, and maybe do something different?
I really like that, and this idea of putting boundaries up. And sometimes I often find people with anxiety, particularly, there's this idea that they have to almost people please. You often find people pleasers with anxiety. And oh, by the way, I put a very naughty TikTok out the other day. If you're not following me on TikTok, by the way, people, go check me out on there. I did this thing. If you struggle, if you're a people pleaser, i.e. you're that person that always has to please everybody, then you've got to sort that out, else I'll be really disappointed in you. Oops. And someone wrote back something like, you've just melted my people-pleasing brain. I don't know what to do with this.
I love that. I really love that.
But no, one of the things about people pleasers is, and I will come round to your point about setting boundaries, is they often over-justify why they don't want to do something. So they go, no, I would come, all right, but the reason why I can't is that this is going on and that's going on, but I would if I could, and if I can't, and it's just, you don't need to do that. What about when you set boundaries, just saying, no, thank you, but no.
Yes.
And people go, well, what if they say, why? I have a lovely way of dealing with that. You just go, because...
Yes.
That's it. But I think of it like this, like, grown-ups, adults, often seem to need a reason to be happy. Like, oh, you look happy. How come? My football team just won. Or why do you look happy? I just got a job promotion at work. But you see a kid, he'll walk down the street and suddenly just be like, ah, and you go, why are you happy? And they go, because. It's like, you don't need a reason to be happy. You don't always need to give a reason. You could just go, because. So for people
the same applies to anxiety, no?
What's that?
And doesn't the same then apply to anxiety?
Oh, as in because?
Yeah.
Yeah. Could do. Because.
But why do we feel that we need to fixate on why, the reason we have X, Y, Z, regardless of whether this is good or bad? What's the why for? What's that about?
Well, I think if we go back, it's this kind of Freudian notion. Like, if we can unravel why, maybe it will magically dissipate. But I tell you, certainly from my own experience, both working clinically 2 decades now with people with anxiety, and my own experience of having anxiety and spending 3.5 years trying to get to the bottom of why, finally getting my therapist theory as to why I was like I was. Do you know what that ended up? It ended up meaning that I was just anxious and now smug, because now I had her theory as to why. But they didn't make me any better.
No.
And that's the problem. It's like, it's just fundamentally flawed. Understanding why doesn't change it. Like if I said to you, how does electricity work? Right? Well, how do you turn the light off? What we need to do is to figure out how electricity works. No, because even when you've understood it, the light's still on.
Yes, exactly.
Great.
And it's that fear of the unknown, isn't it? It's because if we think we know why, we think we have the known. And none of us like not knowing why. We don't like not knowing the answer. And some people are scared of saying, I don't know. And what if it's okay to not know?
But you'd look back, when we were at school, we're wired up, aren't we, to like fear I don't know. The teacher comes around and goes, what's the answer? And you go, I don't know. And the whole class laugh.
Yes.
What about, isn't it amazing? I don't know.
Yes, so that means you can teach me.
Yes.
Because you're the teacher.
Absolutely.
You can do some work and explain to me why you've just asked me that question and explain to me what I need to say.
Right. So someone's just written, in my life, this is Mac Cadam. In my life, I'm 56. On 2 occasions, I brought in Christmas cards for all my colleagues at work. Once when I was 18, once when I was 40-something, and then couldn't bring myself to give them out. Oh. Interesting. I'd love to know why. What was going on for you that caused you to kind of put the brakes on?
Yes, I'd like to know that as well. And, okay, so
I guess we'll hear more at some point.
Yeah.
While he's perhaps thinking about whether he's going to share or not, and I genuinely, it's an invite to share more because I'm curious. Someone wrote that they get overwhelmed, and they didn't write I get overwhelmed. What they actually said was, the thing that stresses me out is I'm literally in charge of everything: shopping, wrapping, cooking, hosting, all the extras. Kids need a Secret Santa gift for school. Kids have choir concert, need an outfit, etc., etc. It's so much, and I always end up getting sick because I have to do it all. I must. It's that masturbation again. But that kind of points right towards overwhelm.
But the thing is, there's a lot to do at Christmas, especially when you have got children, because you've got to factor their school stuff in, and that can just go on and on and on. And in a way, you can't. Can you really say, I'm going to put some boundaries up here to my child and say, I'm really sorry, child, but we can't do the Christmas Carol concert. No, I'm not getting you a Christmas jumper.
Why? Because.
Yes, but I'm not sure that can actually happen, right? So we have to be also realistic about what can you do with boundaries and what actually you need to do about perhaps giving yourself some self-care as well. So when you talked about saying no, you're saying no to somebody else. and then what you're actually doing is you're saying yes to yourself. It's giving yourself that resourcefulness, isn't it? It's topping your own, knowing that Christmas is a stressful time potentially, and a busy time and an overwhelming time. It's a bit like if you were going to drive to London and you live in the Cotswolds and you know it's 100 miles. You don't think, oh, I think I'll risk it on a quarter of a tank. You think, I'm going to fill up first, then I'm going to make it down the motorway, right? So this is the same sort of idea here. You need to fill up, and that is your responsibility. Then you might be able to deal with the busyness of Christmas. So it's not about kind of saying, no, I'm not doing anything either. It's just about resourcing yourself, I think,
right,
as well.
And also, just so that I'm not misunderstood, the idea of saying no and because is not so that you can be the Grinch and you can just say no to everything. It's saying that with the things that you actually want to say no to, when it's appropriate to do so, you can do so without having to feel the need to over-justify.
Yes, exactly. And knowing that you have rights. You're perfectly well within your rights to make that call for yourself, because you're the only one with the knowledge of your own levels of energy and time and space, etc.
Right. I totally agree. We'll do a couple more. So if anyone has any questions that they want to shove in the box, then please do. Let's have a look here. I mean, look, some of these are just typical anxiety. So someone wrote, driving to see family with possible bad weather and drunk drivers out. This smacks of catastrophic thinking, and someone who, it's wintertime, it's cold, it's dark, and you're having to do things perhaps that you haven't done in a while because you're going to go that long drive to the relative's house where Uncle Bob drinks too much and makes those comments, Yeah. Isn't it easy to kind of run away in all that future thinking of what's he going to say? He's going to comment on my weight. I've put on weight, haven't I? Or I hope he doesn't say. If he says something, I'm gonna let him have it. Or what if there's snow on the road? What if this happens? What if that happens? And I think, as a reminder, it's worth sharing this idea that you're never really anxious about the thing itself. No. It's always the thoughts about the thing. And the beauty of that is you can change your thoughts.
Yeah.
It's like with people who are afraid of flying. They're sitting on the ground thinking about flying, feeling anxious. It can't be the flying or the plane that's giving them anxiety if they can feel anxious on the ground. It's their thoughts about it.
Yes.
And that's just a really crucially important thing. So if you're feeling anxious about driving in winter, Christmas, what's Uncle Bob going to say? It's not really about him. It's about your thoughts about him.
Exactly. And also it's about not being in the moment, really, because you're thinking about something that isn't actually happening right here, right now, because you're thinking about the thought about it, if that makes sense. So it's totally either the past, which has happened and you can't do anything about it anyway, the future, which hasn't even happened and you're sort of just imagining it and making it up. Well, these things aren't actually happening. Like the plane isn't there. It's just the thought of the plane. So come back to this moment right here, right now. In fact, even if things are going really terribly in the moment, generally, you don't have anxiety about that because you're dealing with it.
I think the idea is here, Dipti, is that being able to stay in the moment is the greatest Christmas present.
Exactly.
I know.
You're in the wrong job.
Oh dear. Oh God, I could see that coming. Giving yourself the gift of being in the
stay present. You can even wrap it up with some ribbon.
If that's an unconscious signal to wrap up your terrible jokes, Howard, wrap it up. Quick, move on. I caught that, don't worry. Lady Tait.
Hilarious.
Oh dear. Well,
Jennifer's
look,
saying something interesting in the chat. She says you can exhaust. Yes. She says you can exhaust yourself without anything actually happening. I mean, it's so true, isn't it? You know, the thoughts can be in themselves so tiring. You haven't even moved off the sofa and you're knackered, you know? It's like the mental energy and emotional energy it takes to be anxious. Yeah, it's full on, isn't it?
It really is. And I'm just in response to that and where this conversation is going, I'm in my head changing what I'm going to mention for my technique of the week.
Ooh.
I know. And talking about technique of the week, I mean, if that's not the best segue I've ever heard, I don't know what is.
That's brilliant. Seamless. Absolutely. Seamless.
Do you know, talk about segues. I have this running. Have you seen The Apprentice?
Yes.
Right. So I love the bit in the morning when Alan Sugar gets them up at 3 a.m.
Yes.
Wakes them up. You've got to be 74 miles away in 2 minutes.
Yes.
You know, and then they dive. And it really tickles me because they end up in like a theatre. You know, and he goes, I brought you to the theatre. And then there's always some really shitty, terrible segue. I brought you to the theatre because this is where people have their brush with fame. And talking about brushes with fame, we're going to be making hairbrushes. No. No. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, that does. Anyway, the master of segues. Oh, Mac Adam, before we move on, has said, thinking about it, I expect others to slap me down, which in different contexts has happened a lot. I think I'm getting on with people and then find out too late they hate me. So it seems like there's this kind of thinking about how they're going to respond. And then a protective mechanism, the little knock, hello, going, if you do that, what if they... So it's kind of protecting you from rejection. On the other hand, it may be getting in the way of cementing some really concrete, good relationships. So what would you say, Dipti?
Yeah, and anxiety will always give us the worst case scenario to protect us. It will never ever give us the best case scenario. So think of that anxiety security guard. It won't knock on the door and say, okay, there is a burglar down the street, but don't worry, they're not going to burgle this house. The anxiety security guard will say, there's a burglar down the street and he's probably got a gun and you've got to keep everything shut down, you know? So it's going to give you the worst case scenario to protect you. So, but if you know that, then you can start to do something with it and ask yourself a question and spotlight that, you know, that thought that you've got there of, do they really hate me? What evidence do I have about this? Show me some more evidence. You know, really do that spotlighting of that thought. And you might find that the thought doesn't really hold up. Try it.
I like that. And you're kind of pointing as well at a way I like to work, which is you don't have to solve a thought. Like I shared this side. So my son, he's 9 and he did this riddle with me and I fell for it. Never fall for them. He went, I'll do it with you actually. He went, Daddy, riddle for you. Imagine you're in a room trapped and there's no doors, no windows. How'd you get out? You know what the answer is?
No.
Stop imagining.
I love it.
It's like, imagine you're in a room and you're trapped. What do? Stop imagining. You're not actually trapped. You were just imagining it.
I love that.
I literally, I giggled and I laughed because I thought that was so good. And because I've been using this analogy with clients for a long time, which is, you know, if there was if your house was on fire, what would you do? Oh, well, I'd call the fire brigade. I'd run out. You take action. You'd actually solve the problem. Okay, great. What would you do if you were just sitting there imagining your house is on fire? They go, well, nothing. You don't have to do anything. Oh dear. I think we've lost Dipti. Have we lost her? Oh, we have. We've lost her. She'll join again. It's fine. You've got me in the background. Oh, how strange. Let me just swap over. There we go. She'll join us in a moment. She'll rejoin. She's probably just got some internet trouble. But essentially, that's the issue, right? You've got this kind of imagined scenario. So if you're imagining, how do you solve the problem of, imagining people slapping you down and putting you down? And the answer is stop imagining. Or at least know that you're imagining. And that would likely really, really help. Jennifer Pearson says, fantastic. Oh, here she is. She's back. There we go. Dipti, welcome back. Hello, welcome.
There?
I don't know, you got kicked off, but your face was frozen in a very flattering moment as well. So you were smiling.
I carried on talking just in case.
Right, I thought you were just enraptured by what I was saying. I covered for you. It was fine. No problems at all. No. All good. All good. We roll with the punches here. It's all good.
Live TV. This is what happens, you see.
Live TV.
Live TV.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. I think it's time for. You ready? Technique of the week, which I think is stupid that I named it Technique of the Week because I don't do these weekly. But Technique of the Every So Often didn't rhyme.
Yeah.
I make that joke every time as well. It's really bad. Oh, by the way, if you haven't subscribed, please do remember to click the subscribe button. Lots of content. I do lives like this every so often, as I've made patently clear just now. But I also share more long form, shorter videos that are all flashy and edited with, lots of fun content as well for anxiety beating tips and psychological hacks to improve your life. Right, Dipti, what technique of the week would you like to share?
Okay, so this is for the people who are talking about getting particularly overwhelmed because there's so much going on. This technique I offer to my clients all the time, and it's called horizontal listing. So, if you think of a list, when you're writing a list, you normally write it vertically, don't you? One after the other. Mm-hmm. When you're looking at a list that's written vertically in a column, naturally your brain immediately looks at how much there is on the list. And it will immediately think, oh, that's so much stuff. There's a lot to do on that list. And subconsciously, we will just get overwhelmed by what's on the list. What if you flip the list around and do it horizontally? So, for example, I add an extra little layer to this. I'm a very old-fashioned person with an old-fashioned diary. So, I know it's not exactly the most pocket-friendly diary going on. But if I have my diary there and it's got time slots, if I've got 5 things to put on my list, instead of writing the list this way in this section, I allocate spaces for it in the weeks or the days. So I put my things to do into slots. Then happens is that they turn into actions and they generally get done. So my whole point is anxiety does not like a plan.
Right.
So once you've got a plan, which is also a list in action, you don't have any overwhelm or anxiety anymore. It goes away.
Love it. Love it. And that's going to complement really nicely because I've done a lot of work over the years with procrastination. And it was just inspired by this idea of overwhelm. What could I share? Because it often does seem like there's all this stuff to do. I'm going to ask you a question because this is a question I often ask clients. Can you think of something that you really hate doing? like you just can't be asked to do?
I don't like pairing up socks from the tumble dryer.
Okay, so as a closet Xmas elf, I know you see the world slightly differently, so you may not do this, but let me tell you, if I ask a client who's coming in and they find things overwhelming, and I say, can you tell me about something that you're not a big fan of or you don't like doing, and they go, well, doing my taxes or pairing the socks, and I say, okay, tell me the steps. You wake up in the morning, tell me the steps of going and doing that thing. They'll almost always do this. They'll go, I'll give you an example, like going to the gym in the morning or going out for a run. They go, I have to open my eyes. What do you mean? That's a step in itself. Yeah, I have to open my eyes. I have to roll over. I have to take my left foot out, my right foot out. I have to put my weight on my feet. I have to stand up. I have to walk over to the drawers. I have to open the drawer. I have to choose the clothes. I have to put my left foot in, my right foot. They literally break the task mentally down into so many things they have to do that it's no wonder that they feel overwhelmed. But if I said to you, Dipti, imagine you've just won £4 million, and all you have to do is you have to go into the centre of London to the prize headquarters office to collect your prize. Tell me about the steps involved of going.
Yeah.
What would you say?
You just say, I drive, I park, I arrive, I collect.
Yeah, but you didn't say, I had to put my pants on, I had to put my right hand in and open the car door. You didn't talk about traffic.
No.
And there might have been traffic sticking.
Yeah.
You jump straight to the end result.
Yeah.
And you chunk down. So one of the things, if you're trying to, you've got all of this stuff to do, is start chunking down mentally. And there is a distinction to make, because some people go, well, Howard, no. I've been told to chunk, makes things smaller, bite-sized chunks. And as Dipti said, you've got lots of things, break it down and then put it into like a horizontal list. So I want to make a distinction between making a list of all the things that need to be done, whether that's horizontal or vertically, but then at the point of doing it, the mental hack to employ to get yourself to do it is to chunk it is to make it small and simple. I'm going to get up, crack on, and then it'll be done and I'm going to feel great.
Yes.
So
yeah, and it's about that end game, isn't it? The end result and the feeling of satisfaction and completion.
Right.
That's really motivational, isn't it?
Well, it's like, if you say to someone, what do you picture when you think about going out for a run? Right?
It's cold. It's raining.
Yeah, they just see themselves like huffing and puffing up the hill, like with the rain coming down.
Yeah.
Rather than like picturing themselves having achieved it.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, there's a really cool little distinction that I feel compelled to share. There's a really cool book called Rethinking Positive Thinking by Gabrielle Oettingen. I've probably mullered that surname.
Gabrielle, I won't ask you to repeat the surname.
No, but I'll put the link underneath the episode. Okay. And she makes this really interesting distinction between people are often told to motivate themselves, they have to picture themselves having achieved it.
Yeah.
And that's true, but only if you do it in a particular way.
Okay.
So if you see what you were seeing as though out of your own eyes, as though you've already completed it, what happens is you feel like you've already completed it. So you get the good feeling prematurely, and now you don't have to do it to get the good feeling. So actually it robs you of motivation because you don't need to do it to get the good feeling.
Interesting.
Whereas if you picture yourself, you see yourself in the image, like you've already done it, what you see is like a blueprint for the brain to go, oh, that's what it's going to be when I've completed it. But you don't get to feel good until you've done it.
Nice. It's like a template.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. That's brilliant.
It's just a really cool little nuance that, because everyone always talks about just picture the end result.
Yeah.
Yes. But how is also kind of important.
Yes.
So
brilliant, Howard.
Dipti, I want to leave people feeling warm and fuzzy if they're not already, by the way. And I want to be able to do that. But before we do, if people are listening to you and they're thinking, right, I love this Dipti Tait. How on earth do I follow her? Where can I go? Can you tell us, where can people go to get in touch, to follow you, to find out more about the work you do?
So, yeah, as you've beautifully displayed there, my website is diptitait.com, and it's really easy. Everything that you need to know about me is on there. YouTube channel, Dipnotherapy, and Twitter, Dipnotherapy. I also have an app on the App Store and on Google Play. That's actually called Dipti. Easy to find. It's actually a cartoon of me holding a cup of tea. And on my app, there's loads of great stuff. So 24 hypno meditations on there, and sleepy stories and wisdom cards. So, yeah, it's all good.
Perfect. Lovely. So, as is often the way at the end of these, we take 5 minutes just to go into a kind of a relaxed, comfortable state. And normally I do these, but Dipti said, let's do it together. Let's see what happens. This is totally unrehearsed. So let's see. But I call this the anxiety release. So, if you're watching, make yourself comfortable. Perhaps close your eyes if you haven't already, and find yourself just listening to our voices.
And just take your attention now just to your breathing. Some lovely, longer and slower and deeper breaths in and out.
And if you could breathe in a positive feeling, what feeling would that be? Relaxation, comfort, calm, or pure enjoyment?
And if you can let go of anything you just don't really need to hold on to right now, just because it doesn't matter in this moment and in this time, do that now. On the out breath, just let it all go.
And just be reminded of that moment when you get into a shower or a bed at the end of a long day, and as you feel the water on the back of your neck, or the coolness of the sheet. Don't all humans make that sound as they just let all the stresses and strains that they need to drift away? We go.
And as you begin to let go of any of that tension and tightness and any discomfort, allowing yourself to sink down into that state that you know as calm.
And I'm inviting you to contemplate looking at this holiday season through the eyes of your younger self. When I went on my honeymoon, we went to Las Vegas. And I remember looking and seeing the Bellagio, the fountains shooting water, and going, wow, that's amazing. And then on the other hand, I remember being a child, putting my thumb over the tap in the bathroom and turning it on, and being delighted by the fact that it would squirt everywhere. Because even sometimes when you're a kid, the little things are just wonderfully exciting. The feeling of opening a new present. The smell of waking up. It's a new day.
the exuberance and the anticipation of that excitement in the small things, just in the noticing, is a gift for yourself.
And it's the gift of being present. The gift of noticing that all of these thoughts of what about this, and this needs to be done, and the driving, and the Uncle Bill, these are all just transient, floating thoughts. They come in, and like the snow, they melt away.
And a bit like the clouds in the sky, if you were lying back on the grass, perhaps, and it's a warm day, you might have to use your imagination for that. And as it's a warm day, you can feel the sunshine on your face, and you watch the clouds in the sky, and they just drift through your awareness. And that is interesting.
To notice how when you look back in 3 weeks, 4 weeks' time at the holiday season, I want you to notice how calmly, how much enjoyment, how able you were to spot the enjoyment in the little things, the little moments, the moments of being present.
The moments of being aware, and notice that your awareness is yours. No one else has that awareness. In this state of calm, quiet, reflection, you can tap into that wisdom which is yours, that guides you safely through your life and through this season.
Knowing that any unpleasant feelings may just be the little saying, is there anything I need to pay attention to? And you can learn from that. And you can enjoy learning from that. With each passing moment, allowing yourself to become more resilient in your calmness, strength, and ability to notice and enjoy the little things. And in a moment, it's going to be time to open your eyes, to come on back out, and to enjoy reorientating with an inexplicable feeling of well-being. The feeling of, it's nice to be back. So when you're ready, open your eyes, come on back out, with just taking a moment to allow yourself to feel a little better. And part of this, by the way, if you're feeling a little more relaxed than you were before we did this, the only reason why is that you took a moment. That's all. You took a moment to slow down and allow yourself to go with us. And you could do that anytime you want. You don't have to have our permission to do that. You can do it any time you want. Now, I've noticed, by the way, as we were going through that Dipti's camera stopped. I'll wait till she sent me a message saying, I'll wait till it comes back again. I don't know what back again means. But Dipti, you can just rejoin. She's and say goodbye to the lovely people. Let me send her a quick message. Oh, hold on a second. I'm just sending her a message. It'd be nice for her to come back on and say cheerio to people. Here we go. just rejoin. McAdam says, lovely little exercise at the end. Thank you. Look, it's an absolute pleasure. And I know Dipti would have liked to have been there at the end. I've just sent her a message saying, just rejoin. I think she's had a few internet issues. She's actually based, I think, in the Cotswolds. So I have no idea what the internet is like around there. I imagine her... Jennifer says, that's okay. I've got her app now. Yes, indeed. Yeah, she's got a good little app. I like it immensely. So, well, look, any comments, please let us know. Share. Please do. Oh, here she is. She's coming back now. Here we go. There, you're back.
I don't know what happened.
It's all right.
There.
I rounded up and I brought them all back. They're all clucking like chickens now.
Amazing. Well done.
We go.
And I was going to say something actually about that. We can't control the internet in life, and it just comes in and it just goes out.
Right.
That's just the same as anxiety.
Right.
And you just have to go with the flow.
And just like anxiety, I'm always there helping you through it.
Yeah.
Jennifer
with
says,
Wi-Fi.
Because I apologise that you might not be able to join. You might not get back in time before the end of it. But Jennifer said, that's okay. I've got her app now.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you,
great.
Jennifer.
McAdam says, lovely little exercise at the end. Thank you as well.
And I really enjoyed. I've never actually done a free flow trance with somebody else.
Neither have I.
I loved it. I think we should make our next audio together for my app, Howard. What do you think?
let's do it. And Jennifer's already got the app.
I know. Then Jennifer will know where that idea came from.
Absolutely. Only she will know. And anyone else that watches this. Because lots of people watch the replays of these as well.
I should hope so.
Jennifer says that would be amazing. Oh,
we'll do it especially for you, Jennifer.
We'll do it for you.
That's it. Yeah. There we go.
Absolutely. Listen, it's been such an absolute pleasure having you all tune in. And Dipti, thank you for joining us. One thing I say to everyone, which is my passion is to put out good quality help and support around beating anxiety and all things mental health to the world at large. One of the ways in which YouTube knows to put these videos and this content out further is by people subscribing and people sharing. If people share this stuff, it goes out to more people. So if you want to contribute and you want to help, simply liking, simply sharing, simply commenting does a huge amount of good. Tim Box, Mind Coach, says, love you guys. Oh, he's a good one to follow as well, by the way.
I love Tim.
Go check out Tim Box on his channel as well. Tim Box, Mind Coach, great guy. In fact, he was here at the last Beat Anxiety Live. That's the one I did last with him, where due to technical issues at his end, the audio was very echoey for some reason. I hope we haven't done that again. I've got headsets and all sorts. I've been trying to play around. So hopefully it wasn't echoey at your end, Dipti, and you sounded perfect. That would be good.
Yes. And yeah, I mean, this time we had Wi-Fi issues. So, it's what happens when you're a live presenter.
Absolutely. But if you tune into my next one, that will go well.
This went well. I think this went well too.
It did. I enjoyed every moment of it, I have to tell you. It's always such an absolute pleasure hanging out with you, Dipti. And really look forward to doing this again sometime. And let's record that one on your app as well.
Definitely.
So thank you all for tuning in. And we will bid you good night. And Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and all of that stuff. See you all soon.
Bye.